Urbanization and reform.
We will cover life before urbanization, new technologies, immigration, and the health and safety hazards of urbanization.
Before urbanization, people in the United States worked in farms which were either owned by family or they rented it from a large landowner. A lot of people in the cities worked for sweatshops and other factory buildings. They also rode in trolleys or they just walked to work. Most of them lived in apartment buildings. More than half of Americans lived in rural areas, and 16% of them lived in towns with 8,000 people or more. You could start to see urbanization kick in by the 1900s because more than 15 million Americans lived in cities with more than 50,000 people.
During this time period, many new technologies were created. Elijah Otis created a safety elevator. Frederick Law Olmsted designed Fairmount Park and Central Park. Edison created affordable electric light. Skyscrapers and mass transit were also created to compensate for the ever-growing population.
Between 1870 and 1920, over 25 million immigrants came to the United States from Great Britain, Ireland, China, Japan, and many more countries on steamships across the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Americans often discriminated against these immigrants, so the immigrants began to form neighborhoods of people who shared their homeland. However, immigrants helped fuel urbanization in the United States. They often worked in factories because finding jobs was hard, and they often had little money. Nativism also began to emerge all around the United States, making anti-immigration groups such as Immigration Restriction League and the American Protection Association.
Many of the people that lived in urban areas lived in tenements. A tenement was a building that was at a low cost, housed many families, and was near an industrial plant or factory. It usually packed in as many families as possible, resulting in several families living in one apartment. Most urban areas were packed with tenements and buildings that were mere feet apart. The close proximity and filth that covered the streets allowed for the spread of deadly diseases like cholera. In these close communities, many fires spread rapidly. The Great Chicago Fire in 1871 killed almost 300 people, left more than 100,000 people homeless, and cost $250 million in damages. This wasn't the only safety problem. Because of the different ethnicities coming to the U.S., many gangs were created and tensions formed. To try and prevent these hazards, professional firefighters and city police forces were created. We've covered life before urbanization, new constructions and technologies, immigration, and the health and safety problems of urbanization.